This is the Training Camp Podcast. This is Ken, joined by RJ and Paul, of course. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey. Pretty good.
Yeah, so we're just kind of talking a little bit about what we've caught over the past couple of days. I know so far for me, yesterday, my first big lucky egg kind of evolving session.
Nice.
And yeah, it was good. It only lasted like 10 minutes. It's like I didn't have enough to last like the full half an hour like like we've kind of recommended.
Yeah.
You got to work on your endurance, Kenny.
I know. But the thing is too is that now that I don't hatch as much anymore, and I don't necessarily I only really catch Pokemon like every couple of weeks, like really like go out and catch them.
Yeah.
Like if I go downtown or somewhere new, just because around me it's not that like rich of a spot for catching Pokemon. So I kind of like save it up for a little bit, and I thought that was a lot for how I usually am, but and I'm gonna post pictures about it within the week, but I went up a little bit over one level through the whole session.
Oh, nice.
So it wasn't too bad. So I went from a little bit under 14 up until a little bit over 15.
Nice.
And yeah, so it was pretty good. I mean, as far as like I've never tried that method before, but through that I got 4 new Pokemon that I didn't have before, which was a Pidgeot. So I evolved my Pidgeotto to a full Pidgeot for the first time. I evolved a Nidorino,
Ooh.
a Golbat, and a Venomoth, which I've been waiting to really evolve my all of my Venonats into Venomoths. So I thought so far that was pretty good, because those were really in reach for a long time.
Yeah. And
I'm glad to finally have them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So far, tried out the method. It worked. I also did a little bit more evolving of smaller things, and I think I was out when I did that, so I caught a few more things in that time too.
Yeah.
So overall, it was good, especially getting up to level 15, where I got a new incubator and I got some incense. So overall, it was great. I definitely recommend doing that. I wouldn't say that. I mean, unless people have a lot of Pokemon near them, I wouldn't say you have to save up to like spend it all in like the half an hour. I think the 10 minutes was pretty good for me. I think half an hour is pretty long for a lucky egg to be like sitting there, and like they could reduce that if they felt like it.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless my situation is kind of unique where I don't have that many and people do generally use it that much. But overall, I have a quick question. Like, when you're using a lucky egg, what is that really the only thing that it does? Does it only boost the XP that you get from evolving and stuff like that?
No, it does it for everything.
So like,
it will double it for catches, it'll double it for battles, it'll double everything.
Oh, okay. So really, it would be kind of most beneficial to do it if you're like in a pretty populated area with a bunch of gyms and a bunch of Pokestops and a bunch of Pokemon.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Like I've used incense and lucky eggs at the same time.
Oh, that's
oh,
really cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have done that, but I've also heard that using incense is kind of optimal when you're actually moving.
Yeah,
and I was just sitting at my desk, so that probably wouldn't have been the best time for me to do that.
Yeah, incense, whenever you're just stationary, the minimum amount of time between like encounters will be 5 minutes. But if it detects that you move like at least a minimum amount, it drops that timer to a minimum of 1 minute.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's way better to walk around with an incense than to just sit there.
Okay,
Gotcha.
That's a good tip.
And I know,
I don't think we actually brought that up before on the podcast, so that's good.
yeah, I seem to remember Jake saying something about it being better to move around, but I don't remember actually going over like specific numbers like that. Yeah, that would make sense though. It is better.
Yeah.
But
so aside from that, so far I'm kind of bumping my and kind of committing to going on my jogs twice a week, on Wednesdays and on Saturdays. And that's what I've actually been doing. And I've been hatching, even though they weren't like super large eggs and like really super rare Pokemon. I think that's like kind of where I get my big Pokemon activity from is those jogs for sure. How are your fitness goals going, Paul?
I've moved into a similar pattern actually, where I'm like a Tuesday, Thursday. Sometimes the Tuesday slips, so I do like Thursday, Saturday, but about twice a week or so, and just kind of, I the actual plan itself hasn't really evolved that much. There still is. I think I mentioned the campus near me that it's conveniently. It's like 5,100 feet or something. It's like just under a mile to make a loop around the campus. So it's pretty, it's kind of convenient for pacing. And anyway, so I've, done that, and I continue to, this week it did slip a little bit, but I did make up for it yesterday and I actually went running and hatched a couple of eggs.
Cole, did you get anything good out of them?
What did I get? I got a shelter, which I think I've hatched before as well.
Oh, nice.
And there are a couple shelter like spawns up in this area as well, so it's not that rare for me, but it still was nice. And then I also think I caught or rather hatched a Bellsprout also, which I don't get a lot of those up here either, so that was nice. But otherwise, yeah, just making progress. I didn't I guess I didn't make enough laps around to hatch my first 10K egg, though I do have, I did get a 10K egg last week, but I think I'm still a couple K short on that. But yeah, it's still it's keeping me honest.
Cool. I really wish there were other ways to kind of utilize Pokemon Go for fitness and stuff like that. Because I started to get into weightlifting, but there's no way to integrate that into Pokemon Go.
Right.
And there's a lot of other ways to stay fit than just like walking and running. So I'm sure a lot of other people would appreciate it to be able to do that. But so far we're just gonna have to stick with that and try and run those eggs hatched.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, RJ? Have you done a lot of walking lately?
No, I haven't. I have an even better excuse this week.
Yeah,
and
tell
that's
us
just
about
that I've been super busy. Like we were talking about before we started recording, I recently had a job interview, and so I've been like working real hard at work trying to get my stuff wrapped up there before I eventually leave. And so I'm really actually committed to starting, but it's just been really busy.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Everybody's committed to starting.
But I did
get sorry.
even luckier, and I got 2 10K eggs this week, and I hatched them both. So I have been walking.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a Lapras and a Scyther out of those 10K eggs, which the Lapras I'm really happy about because, if you get a big fat-ass Lapras or Snorlax, you can just sit those guys on gyms and they'll just sit there all day.
Yeah, exactly.
I was also preparing a mass Lucky Egg Evolve. I've been stocking up on my Rattata, my Pidgeys, but I also have a lot of other stuff that's ready to go. I'm just waiting to do it all at one time. I got an Oddish ready, I got a Poliwag, an Abra, a Bellsprout, a Magnemite, a Ghastly, a Coughing. They're all ready to evolve, and I haven't had any of them yet, but I'm just waiting to do it all at one time.
Yeah, I'm also I'm in a similar boat that I think I only have 6 lined up, I think, so far. With I'm finally ready to evolve my Eevee. I don't catch a lot of Eevees around here, so I'm finally getting on that.
Yeah, neither do I. It really sucks.
Yeah.
Because they're so overpowered.
I know, right? So I'm gonna get on I don't know, I'm gonna leave it to random. I don't think I'm gonna name it anything and specifically try for a Vaporeon or Jolteon. I'm gonna go the natural way and just see what I get.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, same with I'm also well on the way to a Pidgeot, and I do get a lot of Ghastlies, so I'm ready for a Haunter, and I haven't seen a Metapod yet either, so I'm kind of pumped for that. But
nice.
But yeah, otherwise that's about what I got. I might actually at this point.
So you haven't hatched any, or you haven't evolved any Eevees yet?
No. I just I finally have enough to get my first Eevee evolution.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've only hatched 2 so far, and I keep saying hatched, but evolved 2 so far,
Yeah.
and they've both been Flareons.
Oh, nice.
But I too definitely don't want to use the like naming trick. I want to get all 3,
Yeah.
by chance. I wonder if any of them are like weighted in terms of leaving it to chance whether or not they hatch a certain or they evolve a certain way.
They must know. They must know redheads running the family or something.
Emily only hatched 2, and she ended up getting a Jolteon and a Vaporeon.
Oh, that's cool.
Just on the first 2, so that was pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Do you have all 3 of them yet, RJ?
Yeah, I've gotten all 3, and I've even gotten like to the point where I had all 3, but since I got them earlier, they were kind of weaker, and now I'm starting to evolve like strong ones. Like I have 2 Vaporeons now.
Nice.
And I just found I'm close to like getting a second Jolteon that's stronger than the one I have now.
Oh, that's cool. Do you when you evolve yours? So like when I was doing my evolving session, I kind of I didn't look too deep into the stats. I chose the second most powerful one, and I evolved that one. I left the like powerful, like the most powerful in its like, first evolution. Is there any logic to that? I just did that because I want to, have all of them in my phone, in my Pokemon Go. Like I want to make sure I don't want to evolve all of them or whatever, but I don't want to make sure that I want to make sure that the ones that I do keep in their smaller evolutions, I want to make sure that they're powerful. I don't want to just like be like, oh, those are useless, they're only for evolving.
Yeah, so what I do is I kind of have like a living deck set up, and I'll keep the strongest that I have of each one, but I'll evolve the strongest ones and just assume that I'm gonna get a strong one to replace the earlier stage. But yeah, I'll keep like if I have I'll keep a strong Pidgey, at least one strong Pidgeotto, and then I actually have a couple Pidgeots because I just keep getting them.
Mm-hmm.
And but recently I downloaded one of these IV calculators we were talking about, one of these apps, and so now I'm starting to actually look at their IVs, and like I know a coughing I have right now, it's not the strongest CP wise, but it's by far the strongest IV wise.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm gonna evolve that one and train that one up probably, and there's other instances of that like where the ones that weren't the highest CP actually were better. They actually had an update today. I don't think my phone is updated to it yet, but I saw pictures of it online where whenever you click that little menu, the menu to open up where the transfer button is now.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now when you click that little menu, it'll say appraise. And when you click appraise, the gym leader for your team will pop up. And it'll tell you a little quote. And like, by judging by what the quote says, it's like how strong that Pokemon's IVs are. And so there's a table on the Pokemon Go subreddit I saw that linked out every single like text line you can get and what it means. And so he'll tell you if that Pokemon's IVs are like 80% to 100% perfect. Like it'll put it in that range. It's still not as accurate as a calculator, but it's it's an actual part of the game now.
That's pretty cool.
Oh wow.
Huh. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Did they what why do you think they decided to do that? Do you think that they planned to do that since the beginning because they knew people were going to go that deep into it? Or do you think that they kind of reacted from what they saw in the community?
I really don't know. They might have. It seems like they've had it planned because the DS games, the actual games, like do something similar, where you can go talk to a guy and he'll tell you a semi-cryptic quote, but like it still gives you a gauge. And so it still fits that trend that they've always had of letting you know but not telling you exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they had this planned or not, but they could have.
Right. When I hear about stuff like this, all I think about is spreadsheets. Like opening like a Google spreadsheet and just putting your Pokemon in there and putting the quote and just really like actually narrowing it down to figure out, okay, what am I going to actually evolve and what am I going to keep, what am I going to transfer and that kind of stuff. Because like that's like, I mean, if I'm sitting there with a lucky egg, I'm not going to be like using that to kind of like go through and be like, oh, is this one good, is this one good? Like you got to lay out a plan with that. Like are you using like a method like that to track your Pokemon strength?
Well, right now, like especially for things like Bulbasaurs that I I really want to have a actual good Venusaur because I really like Venusaur. Like, so far, I've kept every Bulbasaur I've gotten. And right now, whenever I first downloaded this calculator, I checked the IVs of every Bulbasaur I had, and I used the favorite thing to put a star next to the one that currently has the strongest ones.
Right.
So I'll, and every time I'll get one, I'll check to see if it's stronger than that one. So I'm not going to evolve any of them to an Ivysaur until I have enough to fully evolve it to a Venusaur. So, I have that maximum amount of time to find one that's the best, Other Pokemon that I don't really care about, like, I have, like, Jigglypuffs that are close to CPs, but I don't, I'm not going to care about a maxed out, like, Wigglytuff, So, like, ones like those I might not bother checking unless, like, they're close CP-wise and, but, yeah, like, I know I have Meowths that are different IV-wise, but, one's better, but I don't really care because it's just a Meowth.
Huh.
So, yeah.
Well, that's actually a really good method to use. Like, actually, can you, like, repeat that again? Like, what you said that you did? Because I think I'm going to actually start doing that, because that's quick, that's easy, but it also seems like it's pretty effective. Like,
so,
what is the method that you just laid out there?
So Pokemon I care about, ones that I know are going to be good or ones that I actually like and want to be good, I don't evolve them to, like, their second stage or their mid stage immediately. I keep every single one I get. And then I check all of them to find which one has the highest IVs. And since the good ones take a lot of candies to get, you're going to find a lot of them, and every time you get one, you check to see if you got a stronger one. And then once you have enough to just evolve it all the way, then you can do the strongest one, and you don't waste anything. You don't waste any candies, you don't waste any of your time. But right now, like, I do not find a lot of Ghastlies. I'm ready to evolve one into a Haunter. I have enough candies. But, Gengar is cool. I want to have a really good Gengar.
Yeah.
And Gengar also takes a lot of candies, so I'm not gonna evolve the Ghastlies. I'm gonna hold on to them, and then once I'm ready to fully evolve it, I'm gonna take the one with the highest IVs. Which by the time I have enough candies, I'm gonna have one with good IVs.
Right.
So basically, the ones that you want, the ones that are good, the ones that you care about,
watch them closely.
And the ones that are also hard to find, you want to hold on to and, just try to be efficient with it and maximize them.
Awesome. That's like the tip of the month right there. That's actually something that I could get behind and start doing. Cool. Definitely going to take advantage of that. So, also, to kind of get into, like, the another, big topic of the podcast here, we talked about, this week what we wanted to talk about on the show, which was kind of going into both what has been in the news in terms of kind of, like, I don't want to say harm, but really kind of the dark side of the app, and, like, what's kind of turned up in the, like, sensational, like, this person got hit by a car, like, this person, you got to watch out if you're using this app kind of stuff. And it's not necessarily to scare people from using the app, but I think it's important to point out and just say, this actually exists, and to be careful. But there's also some kind of hilarious stories out there also, I have to say, about using the app. And then later down the road, we'll talk about even more of the benefits. And we've kind of had those scattered out through the podcast and through the episodes where we talked about how this could be such a positive impact on the world. And I'm definitely excited to, like, go into a whole episode and kind of, like, lay out the different ways. But I think today we're going to kind of, like, talk about these news stories that kind of say, maybe it's not such a good idea to play it here, or maybe you should, take precaution in this section. What do you guys think about that?
That sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Exposing the evil.
In a way, and there's not a whole lot of evil around it. It's mostly, like, the people who are using the app.
But you have to admit, it is at least a little bit pure evil.
Yeah, certainly. Depending on how it's used, it could definitely be used for some bad stuff. And first, real quick, so I collected some articles here that I've heard about through the radio or saw in these sensational headlines. And when I was, like, kind of looking around a few days ago, I found this story that's, like, not even, it's barely a sentence long that basically says 23-year-old waitress tripped over a cinder block playing Pokemon Go. And I'm not even kidding. That's basically the story.
Evil.
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 Pure evil.
Niantic is laying out cinder blocks, just waiting for people to trip over them and bruise their legs. But this is an example of people kind of going after and saying, like, Pokemon Go. That's why. People are getting hurt because of Pokemon Go. And I really hope that people don't look at this and kind of, like, use it to, blanket the app and say that it's bad and it could hurt people. But these are the kind of things, this is the kind of ways that it's being attacked in the news. And that's just one small story with that.
I mean, small ones like that are definitely like, people, something mildly unfortunate happened to them, and since it's popular, they thought they could get, like, at least some attention off of it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, you kind of wonder to yourself, the types of people that are getting into these incidents while they're playing Pokemon Go, what are the chances that they would get into these incidents, besides the fact? Like,
just if they
was
were
it really the
texting
app
while they
that
were
made her
walking.
trip over that cinder block?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet that lady trips over cinder blocks every day.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that being said, there's another story here that I found where it says, authorities say 2 Pokemon Go players were so distracted by the game that they fell off an ocean bluff in Southern California, suffering moderate injuries. Okay, so apparently Pokemon Go is making people fall off cliffs. Now, reading into the story a little bit more, it says that they climbed through a fence to reach the cliff area, and one person fell 50 feet and the other person fell 90 feet. So these are people that are essentially trespassing and putting themselves in danger because of Pokemon Go.
Right.
So, kind of like I said before, it's kind of like these are somewhat cautionary tales, but they're also saying, like, look at these people out here who are, like, kind of ruining the face of Pokemon Go.
Yeah, exactly. That you can't, just because you have a new app on your phone, it doesn't, like, supersede any sort of laws or otherwise common sense. You really do have to pick your head up from your phone every now and then. But as with anything this popular, that however many millions of downloads there have been at this point, you're always going to have these bad apples that are the unfortunate stories that do happen, and whether that's a total representation of the population playing this game or not, it's going to get caught up by the news and by the media, and that's what's going to come to light, not the millions that are doing just fine.
Yeah, exactly. And some other ways, I guess, that these media sites are kind of sensationalizing the app. I see here that we have a lawsuit over Pokemon Go, inconveniencing residents to cut off the profits. Did you put this here, Paul?
Yeah, so I had seen that, just in terms of, there definitely are issues and complaints and events of Pokemon Go being invasive, and I do definitely agree with that, I guess, to an extent, that the app itself kind of self-populated, through all these Pokemon Pokestops and gyms and whatnot. It's all through, I don't know if they originated from that previous game by Niantic or whatnot, but anyway, point is, these either businesses or residential areas, they didn't ask for any of these Pokestops to be placed in their front yards, or there's even Pokestops like at Holocaust museums and things like that. And that, there's you really gotta have a level of respect. You can't just again,
Right.
You can't just be trespassing on somebody else's property, or in the case of the Holocaust museum, you really do have to. You shouldn't be on your phone anyway while you're in there. You're there to pay your respects and learn about the history and whatnot. And it's unfortunate, and I definitely understand the side of it, of these different, either people or organizations that are that have petitioned and have successfully got through Niantic these either Pokestops are removed or moved around the areas. But in the first several weeks or however long it was of this app being around, I definitely understand that side of it, that it was very invasive. But that
the
seems
things
to
like
have
that
been fixed.
are definitely legitimate grievances.
Absolutely.
Things like private property and inappropriate places to play.
Yeah.
It's and any lawsuits or trials that come from that will definitely have to determine whether that's Niantic's fault. I don't think it necessarily is Niantic's fault, especially if people are like trespassing on private property.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely like a legitimate complaint. It's not like these just litigious people who are trying to get a quick buck, like maybe these cliffside guys who, the thing that bugs me the most about that is that they're not even playing the game well. If you're sneaking into a secluded area, like, Pokemon are easier to find in like populated areas like cities. Like what are you trying to break into people breaking into zoos at night and stuff? Like what are you trying to break into a remote secluded area for when there's not even like you're not even playing the game well. There's not going to be Pokemon in there either way.
Yeah.
But the things about the private property and inappropriate places to play, like cemeteries and memorials and stuff like that, are definitely legitimate complaints.
Right. I wonder, like, as far as like the breaking into a zoo, which is like something that I've read about, these falling off a cliff. I wonder like how much of this is actually true. Like you could say like, oh, I was playing Pokemon Go and I fell off a cliff, when it was really like, is that what happened? Like, is there something else behind this? Like possibly, like when's going to be the first documented murder that happens, and they're going to somehow work in Pokemon Go to this?
You weren't just doing drugs on a cliff and rolled up and then told your mom that like, oh, actually, I was just playing Pokemon. I was distracted.
Right. Exactly. And so so there's some of these stories where these people could be using it as an excuse, or like we said before, these people just might be, I mean, in all due respect, they might just be idiots. Where they might be getting into trouble on the road.
Comes down to.
Yeah. So there's been situations where people have been drunk driving. They've been drunk driving and they blame Pokemon Go. Or they've been, playing Pokemon Go under the influence, and that could have caused problems. And God, I love the I don't know if they actually got this as a screenshot for this article, but there's like a Jinx sitting on a dashboard of a car at nighttime. It's like, come on, really? Is that what happened? But let's see. There was actually one story that was one of the big ones that I actually heard on the radio, and I heard on the radio probably because it was so sensational. And this might be one of the situations where they might just be blaming Pokemon Go. But there's a situation where some parents got in trouble because they left their toddler at home for like 90 minutes because they went to go, walk around looking for Pokemon. Okay. Wow. Which is, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
First of all. And there was actually one of the radio show hosts made the comment, they're like, if you have a kid, you're too old to be playing Pokemon Go, which I don't agree with. You can play Pokemon Go whenever you want. You just have to also tend to your responsibilities as an adult.
Yeah, exactly. Pokemon Go can't raise that high up the priority ladder, like.
And if you're playing Pokemon Go, like, why not just bring the toddler? He'd love it.
Exactly.
I definitely saw a couple, like, there was a mother and their kids were definitely walking around with flashlights around a nice neighborhood. They were having a good time, and they were getting exercise, and they were catching Pokemon. They didn't have to stay at home and, like, in the dog cage or anything like that.
Get in a cage and playing Pokemon.
So there's situations like that where some of these things might be kind of, a lack of character or a lack of responsibility and ownership in these situations. But there's also kind of situations where we can say, like, maybe you should be careful. Like, you're looking at your phone and you're playing the game, but there might be some things that you might want to be careful about. So there's first of all, have been stories about people who've been using Pokemon to lure people to a certain area to either rob their house where they know that they're going and they're going to be there for a while, or they're robbing them at the spot where maybe there's like a Pokestop that is in an area that, isn't well monitored or something like that. Or even, there's situations where there's, I guess, like Pokemon Go and sex offenders, where there's possible pedophiles that are using the game to actually lure kids with actual lures to certain areas. And they've even gone so far to actually pass laws where they're saying if you're a registered sex offender, you're not allowed to use the game, which I suppose makes sense to a certain degree.
From that point of view, absolutely, that's something that it's true. It like you said, it's a literal lure that they place in the game that that definitely spells trouble. But that's it.
Yeah, I think these are good things to bring up, because it's going to kind of draw attention to Niantic's response to these different issues. Like, for instance, in this article here about the sex offenders using Pokemon Go or whatever, it says that Pokemon have materialized in front of 93 out of 100 level 2 or level 3 sex offenders' homes. So that could either be, them using, lures or whatever, if there's like a Pokestop near their house, or, or it might just be random, and like it just so happens that that's like the case. So this is actually going to kind of show how well Niantic responds to these situations, and how flexible they are with actually updating the app and making sure it's as safe as possible.
Because the delicate balance, if you end up taking away every Pokestop and every spawn point that is near a registered sex offender, you're gonna, even though that's obviously kind of most likely the best thing to do, you're gonna get people who are gonna get angry about that, like be like, hey, you took away the Pokespot next to my house. Like, dude, you live next to a sex offender.
Right. Right, exactly.
So it's definitely there's definitely some eggshells they're gonna have to walk on to not piss too many people off, because there's the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Right.
If you want to protect kids, you can have the goal of protecting kids, and you'll still have people coming out being like, but that interferes with my rights, like of having Pokemon near my house.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And like a lot of different things, I mean, you can blame that on the cell phone, manufacturers. You can blame it on all sorts of stuff. But it's good that or at least I hope that Niantic is taking these into consideration and are actually making improvements towards the app to make it as safe as possible for people, at least for people who are innocent and have common sense, unlike these people who are breaking into places and getting in trouble by using the app, and who would probably be in trouble either way.
Yeah, and they definitely have shown that that's their intention with the new trespassing updates. It pops up, don't trespass. It pops up like stop driving. So they're definitely aware of that. It's just this game of towing the line of doing too much.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And there was actually one thing that came up in a podcast that I listened to, where it wasn't something that was, as far as I know, an issue in the news or anything, but it was something that might be not a conspiracy, but something that could be possible, where when you have people using the augmented reality, so they're actually, filming the world around, like not recording necessarily, but they're viewing the world around them, but with their phones through the Pokemon Go app. What potential does this have for either hackers or people who are data mining for location information, for if you're inside someone's house, or your own house, and you're, looking through the lens of your camera through an app to see what the inside of your house is like and stuff like that? What implications do you think could happen with that? Or, what could Niantic really do against that?
Well, I know whenever the game first came out, you can sign up with your Google account or like, Pokemon Trainers Club account or whatever it's called. And I know when it first came out, like, if you used your Google account, it gave a lot of permissions from that Google account to Pokemon Go.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the security on their end was vulnerable, you just don't have all these people's, emails they use to make their account. You have their Google accounts, the entirety of them, their emails,
Right.
their drives, everything. And I don't know if anything major came of that. I don't know the details of the vulnerabilities, if there even were any specifically. But I know when the game first came out, people were like, you probably should not sign up with a Google account because, looking through the app permissions, it does have a lot of access to a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a good point, just in terms of, like you said, you have the option of playing with this isolated account, with this separate account, and you kind of do want to limit your exposure, right? That just because somebody hacks into this game, that doesn't get your email compromised, get your Google Wallet compromised, or anything like that. Yeah, so yeah, that is the way to go, I'd say.
It might not be necessarily dangerous, but it could be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
there's definitely some considerations and security concerns from outside, from outside threats, I suppose, like people hacking in. But I mean, there is also some concern. I mean, it's not necessarily healthy to inherently trust any company with that much access.
Right.
And
yeah. These problems aren't unique to Pokemon Go.
Exactly.
This is a very general thing.
Right. And one thing that, I don't know what intention I had necessarily, but I read through a lot of the terms and conditions of the app because I was curious, because it was something new, and I wanted to know the implications. And in signing up for the app, you do agree to. It's called an arbitration agreement. Do you guys know what that is? An arbitration agreement is when you sign an arbitration agreement, you're saying that if you have any legal issues with the product that you signed up with and that you signed on, you can't appear in a normal court system. You basically settle it with Niantic. You don't get a jury of your peers, and you don't get a judge that was just selected by the state or something. You have to settle it basically within a somewhat Niantic formed court, or in a Niantic setting.
Yeah.
so that it doesn't kind of I guess it's a way to cover their ass in one way, where their name doesn't get totally screwed over just because someone does something stupid.
Right.
But and people sign these arbitration agreements with everything, with cell phones, with cars, with all sorts of contracts. People are adding them in, but there have been a lot of issues in the past where people have signed arbitration agreements where they basically sign over their whole freedom through using the product, and it's proven to be issues in some cases, but also some cases not so much. But just being aware of that is probably important, that companies are going to do what is necessary to make sure that they cover their downside and cover their asses in case something does happen. So like I said, that's just something to kind of be aware of in case in case
you run in the middle of the street and get hit by a car while playing Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
If nothing bad ever per se happens to you, then it's like anything else in the contract, it may not apply to you. But yeah, in those instances, yeah, that would tend to happen, and that you gotta look into what you're signing.
There are hoops, and you may need to jump.
Yeah. So those are just a couple of things, and those are, like I said, those are just kind of the sensational stories out there,
The evil
of Pokemon Go. But But listen, there's also tons and tons of ways that this app could be improving the lives of all of us who love Pokemon and all of us who want to get healthy, who want to form communities, and who want to indulge ourselves in this really awesome universe that we grew up with. So, take these with kind of a grain of salt. Do your research if you're curious, or if you hear something in the news and you react to it. Just do your homework and see what the whole story is, because that's important with a lot of things in life.
Evil is everywhere.
That's true. Keep your eyes open out there, people, when you're playing Pokemon Go, and don't get hit by a fucking car. That's for sure. So next week we're gonna kind of go into some more about what makes Pokemon Go awesome, what makes it great, and just more stuff to look forward to in the future. So how do you guys feel about that?
That sounds good. Well,
I am shaken to my core of the fear of evil.
We'll get some optimism next week instead of
I'm laying awake at night.
Oh no, hang in there, RJ.
The abyss is one day closer.
We're thinking of
Oh, well, thanks for listening to the episode. If you guys have any requests for future topics or have any questions, please leave it in the comment below on the YouTube channel or on iTunes or wherever you found this. Make sure to check out our Facebook page. We're posting awesome pictures of our adventures in Pokemon Go, posting pictures of new Pokemon that we get, our own progress, and maybe a little bit of motivation for you guys out there. Also, check out our Twitter account. We're posting the same stuff there. Engage with us. We want to know what you guys think. So definitely follow us. Look out for the next episode, and I'll see you guys next week.
All right. See you next week.